Good morning, Fair Christian Church. We are here in Ethiopia in Africa. Tom and I just coming to you with the Dunns, checking out their ministry and what they got going on here. I'm just going to ask them a little bit of questions about that to give you guys kind of an insight into it. So before we really get started here, what was one of the biggest challenges coming to Ethiopia?
In the first 2 weeks, I think I cried every single day because taking your child away from their grandparents and away from the family really pulled at our heartstrings in the first 2 weeks. Then as you develop friendships, as you develop more of a cultural sensitivity, you develop a love for the country, that lessens. But in the first few weeks, that was a huge challenge.
Yeah.
I would say language. I mean, the language is just, it's a cousin to Arabic, and it has its own alphabet of 266 characters. It's not something you just pick up by hearing it. We took a year, we've studied the language, and even now, our language teacher just left. We have 2 lessons a week, and we still feel like we're speaking like babies. So the language, just grasping like, God, why such a difficult language for where you decided to put us?
So can you guys tell us a little bit about Ethiopia in general? Like some of the things, maybe not even just experiences, but just what you've seen, and give the people back home kind of a brief picture of Ethiopia, if you can.
Oh my goodness. I think Ethiopia, I mean, you could pan around our yard a little bit here. Yeah. You can just see, you've got in our yard a little bit of green. We live in the city, so we're not out in the countryside. We're missionaries that we do have quite a bit of amenities and things that available to us in the city. We're lucky to have this amount of green space in our yard. We just got finished with the rainy season, so it's absolutely beautiful right now. But yeah, we live there's a lot of cement surrounding us. There's a lot of people. There's always something going on. There's horses, there's sheep on the roads. When we're driving, we have to slow down for cattle. Again, we live in the city.
What about the people, like, I'm saying living conditions of people around, because I feel like what I've seen, I mean, it seems like the majority have that kind of a living situation.
Okay, yeah.
Describe those a little bit.
Well, we both come from rural Indiana living, and we came to a city of 8 million people. And Addis is the fastest growing city in Africa, but the city is having trouble keeping up with that growth. So what you see is a lot of houses that have just gone up overnight with a little bit of tin, some manure, maybe some cement blocks. And a lot of our patients live in that style of living. Cement block sides with a tin roof, maybe even one of the walls is manure wall. And all the homes are lined with tin gates along the side of the road. That's the general scene as you drive down Kore, which is the area we work in.
Okay, so now, for the most part, knowing with what you just described there, Nick, I know you're dealing with hospice. So these patients have been diagnosed with primarily what?
Primarily right now is HIV. And if they have a CD4 count of 200 or less, meaning their immune system is really, really low, then we admit them into the program. We've also had quite a decent number of cancer patients over the past year as well.
And usually lifespan?
Yeah.
Once you meet them till?
Once we meet them, their general prognosis is 6 months or less.
Okay, so if you can describe to me a little bit, and us, a little bit about Strong Hearts, what exactly they do, how maybe they got founded as well.
Strong Hearts is a really, really diverse NGO. There's 5 different areas that Strong Hearts focuses on. One is church discipleship, church planting, so a very spiritual side of the ministry. One is a school, grades pre-K through 4th grade. They have a family care center where they take care of young kids, anywhere from a few months to 3 years old. Then there's a skills training program where people can be learned in hairdressing or sewing. And then lastly is hospice care.
With hospice. So explain to me a little bit about what goes on with the hospice and some of the needs, because I know you work directly with the hospice, some of the needs you have within that.
My role with the hospice program is to kind of cast vision and manage the nurses in the way that they're working. And so right now our biggest need is we have a new partnership with Alert Hospital. Alert Hospital sees over 10,000 HIV patients every year, and they're going to be referring to us the worst of those patients. When we first met with Alert, they weren't giving us any patients, and most of the patients that were terminal, they were simply sending home and saying, "You're terminal. We don't have the bed space for you. We don't have the resources for you. You need to simply go home and die." Is the message they were sending to the patients. that's how our program was born. That's how hospice was born. Now we've done a full 180, and now we have a relationship with Alert to where when they have a terminal patient, they refer them to us. We go provide health care within the home, and not just to the patient, but to the patient's entire family, provide health education, provide discipleship, evangelism.
Just the evangelism, the gospel coming through as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the biggest need for us right now is we want to really focus in on that relationship with Alert Hospital and make it the best we can. And I think if we had a team of health professionals come over, we could really send them to Alert, have them provide some different health services at Alert as well as with our patients in the homes, and that would make Alert so happy. The staff at Alert Hospital, I think, would really enjoy seeing some health professionals from America come and provide their expertise.
Yeah. So you kind of referenced it too. What's interesting with this is Nick is working with hospice. Amanda, you are interested in working with women in prostitution. Can you explain a little bit about EWAR and what that stands for, and what they're doing?
Okay, EWAR is Alota Women at Risk. Alota has actually been in Ethiopia for 20 years. They have a lot of experience. When we came as missionaries, we knew the issue of prostitution in the city of Addis. We saw that there was not a lot of organizations here helping those women, and God personally placed that on my heart years ago. And so I said, okay, when we came to Ethiopia, we said, okay, there's work here to be done with this, and God has brought us here. So we looked at organizations, came across EWAR, and really felt passionate about the way that they do their program, which is really focused on the rehabilitation of the woman and giving her a life skill that can allow her to support herself outside and her family outside of the sex trade. And in the first 6 months of the program, these women come in and they get medical care as needed, they get education as needed, they are in counseling, intense counseling, which is very necessary, and they're being in a loving relationship for the first time. And the most important thing out of all those is that they're hearing the gospel. So they ask them just to sit in, to listen to the lessons that they're teaching, and I think over 90% of the women by the end of the program have given their lives to Christ. That's the first 6 months. In the second 6 months, they are actually going out of the house and they're going to a job skill training. So that could be anything from doing hair or sewing to jewelry making to owning a shop to being a house worker, a day laborer, all kinds of opportunities, but things that give them a real thing to market.
What is it within your ministry that you think this would be a great a need that we as a church could fill?
Prayer is huge. We really need you guys praying specifically. Pray for Herod House. Herod House is what we're calling it, after a woman that was a former prostitute and helped do the research out of the community of Corey where we wanted to work. And she actually passed away recently, and we're calling it Herod House because that's what we want, is more women like her rehabilitated, their lives are turned around, and now they know Jesus, and they want to seek out and help women that were like they were. And so the need really is primarily prayer, but also financially. We really would love to rent a house next month. We have started with staffing. We have most of the staff. We are ready and prepared to get up and get going. We need to rent the house, and maybe not just something where it's money is great, but like I said, praying with us, knowing the names of some of these women. We want to keep you updated. We want you to know what's going on with Herod House. We want you to know there's women that are coming in and their children and the way that their lives are being changed.
Yeah, I feel like for you guys at home, one of the things this kind of relates to, this Herod House, it relates a lot with the Restoration House back home and how they're helping these families, giving them the job skills and training, and there's another option possible for us to get involved is help bringing some of that here. So I definitely want to thank you guys so much for your heart. First off, for your service and what you're doing. Like I said, as a church, we're here right now to try to figure out how best to come alongside and encourage you guys at the same time to see how we as a church can be involved. So we're going to take this information back and talk some more and keep the conversation going. So thank you guys so much.